So we'll be looking at the first concept, iframe in HTML. What is the use of iframe? You can load another web page inside your web page. So how to declare an iframe? You just give iframe, enter. So it asks you for the source. You can enter any web page that you wanted to load. Say if I want to load my own site here, codespindle.com, I can load that. I can also give an height and width for my iframe. Let me give it as 300 and width to be some 300. We can also have a name property for an iframe. We can give a name to this element. So name, I'll say test frame. So iframe we have defined, and what is going to load in this iframe is it's going to load up my own website codespindle.com. So let me run this. This is the use of iframe. What is the use? We are loading another web page inside our page. So this is my web page which I have loaded. Some properties I have given for an iframe, that is height, width, name. That's it. There's one more thing. We can also use an iframe with an anchor tag like this. Say I love this iframe. In this, I'll load some default test documentation. Say I love this new page.html, some dummy document, and I'll have an anchor tag here. Here, I'll say this is my website. So URL to my website, codespindle.com. And I'll have this target attribute along with my anchor tag. In this target attribute, I'll give the name of my iframe. So what is the name for the iframe? Test frame, right? So test frame I'm going to give. And I'll say click here. So what happens is when I click on this link, this page will be loaded into this iframe. So let's see the output. So this is the actual page. So this is that dummy document which I loaded in the iframe. When I click on this link, that particular URL is loading inside that iframe. So you can also use iframes with the target attribute of the anchor tags. That's about iframes. Next, we'll see a very important thing which we all know, that is the division tag. What is this? The division tag we'll see. What is the use of division tag? It's used for dividing your content into various divisions. Why we should divide content? Maybe for styling, for defining certain actions on the content, we can divide it. It's mostly for dividing your content. And let me give a division tag here. Say this is one of the divisions. And whenever you're using division, you also go with the class for a division. Say I'll say this is class A, and we can give ID, some ID A1. And inside this, I'll just give a paragraph text. So here in Visual Studio, we have something like this. When I enter LOREM and then press enter, it generates some dummy text, some 50 words or so. So we can use it for test purposes. And our first division is done. Next, what we'll do is we'll have another division tag. And inside this division 2, I'll have this paragraph and then some dummy text here. So we have two divisions here, and very important, we should give the class. Say I'm saying this is also class A, whereas ID should be very unique for every element in the document. So A2. What is it we are seeing here is these two divisions come under this class A. So this is just a variable name I'm giving here. I'm saying these two divisions take up class A, whereas every element will have a very unique ID in the HTML document. So you cannot have the same ID for two elements in your HTML page. So it's like your registration number. It should be unique ID. What is the use of this? We'll see it from the styling perspective. So we can define some style. Say all those elements that come under class A. So I say dot A. Whenever I refer to a class attribute, I can give some background color to be aqua. So all the class A divisions will have this background color. We can see that in our output. So this is one division, this is one division. So for all those elements with the class ID A, background color is applied as aqua. If I want to style with respect to an ID, I have to give an hash and then use the ID. Say it's A1. Say for A1 alone, I want the width to be only 200 pixels. So here I am using ID to style this particular division such that the width is 200 pixels. So you can see now the width for this division is reduced to 200 pixels. So when you are working with divisions, you go with these two attributes, famous attributes, class and ID. ID should be unique for every element in your HTML document. You'll also be using ID in JavaScript for accessing an element in your web page. So division tag is done. I hope you have understood this. We'll go to the next tag, that is image. Just give the image tag source. So whenever you have images, create a folder. Inside the folder you put the images. Don't have everything in a common folder. So I have created this images folder. Inside this I have, say, caption.jpg, and here we have this attribute alt. So we have to just describe what is the image shown here. So maybe this is an image of a table. What is the use of this attribute is, this is mostly used when your image is not going to load because of some network issues. So you will be able to read the text. Another use of this is for differently able people who are using these speech synthesis tools. So they will not be able to see the image, so the text will be read out to them. That is one more thing. And you can also go with some height and width for your image. We normally style it using CSS, but this is also possible. You can give some height and width for your image. So you see, this is the image I have used. So images will be part of your web pages, very important. And you can also use image as an hyperlink. How can you use image as an hyperlink? Say I can create an anchor, and here I can have some website which I want to load, say codespindle.com, and inside this what will be displayed is an image. Say I'll use the same table image for displaying, and then we'll close this anchor tag here. Okay. So what is the hyperlink here? Hyperlink itself is an image. Sometimes you get a button kind of a shape, you click on it, you go to an URL, right? So that is the thing here. Let's check whether this one works. When I click on it, you can see my web page is loading. You can use an image as an hyperlink too. That is also widely used. So image is done. Next we'll see, the next concept we are going to see is how to include audio and video in your web pages. So we'll see how to embed video in your web pages. Say if you take a look at my own web page, I put up some 70 video lectures embedded in my content here. What is that I've done here? You can see every page has got videos embedded in it. So one good practice is, do not have videos on your hosting server in a folder and then host your site. That's going to take some time to load. Maybe you can embed videos by uploading it on YouTube. You can have the link reference here so that your site loads up faster. This is one of the recommendations. Or else you're going to run your video. Say if I'm going to take my video capture, put it on my hosting server, then have a link and use my video, then it's going to take some time. Here I have embedded YouTube videos, but we can also have our own videos. I'll tell you how to have our own videos. So for this, we have to use the video tag. What is the source for my video? Say I have created video folder. Whenever I have some videos, I create a folder, and inside that I use it. Let me delete all the styling. So I think it's videos or video. Yeah. So I have this installation.mp4, which is a video inside my folder on my laptop. So this is the source for my video, and I can give a lot of things here. For instance, I can say controls. So this will display the controls for your video, play, pause, all those things, and autoplay. So when the site loads, this will autoplay your video. But to autoplay your video, the next step is important. It should be in the muted state. Only when it is in the muted state, it will autoplay that video, or else this autoplay is not working. And you can also put that video in the loop mode. You can play back it again and again when it comes to an end. So these are the controls for video. I mean attributes, we can say controls, autoplay, muted, loop. We'll see whether a video is visible. Let's go back to our page. Let's refresh this. So this is the video, and this video is on Visual Studio Code installation, which I put forward already. And you see the width and height of this video can be adjusted. So how we can adjust that is we can go with some properties like height and width for your video. So we can give height, I'll give it as 300 and width as 300. That's it. So now you can see the video is auto playing, and you can also be able to see the controls, and it will loop back after it ends. So these are the properties, and that's how you include a video. But when you're hosting sites like what I have done, don't go for large number of videos and having this tag and loading up your videos. It's going to take some time on your website. Likewise, the next tab we are going to see is audio. Can we have an audio file alone? Yes, audio. How to use audio? For audio, what you do is you just use this tag audio. For audio files, I have created a separate folder, and inside this folder, I have this way.mp3, some mp3 file. Again, for audio too, you can have controls, the same kind of a thing. We can have auto playback, autoplay. We can loop the audio. Most of the controls are the same like a video, and you can also mute it when it is auto playing. So, and we can run this. We'll see what is the output. So you see here, some audio is going to be played for you. It will be actually in the muted form. When the page loads, you can unmute it so that you can hear to some music. So audio controls, video controls, we can include that in your web pages. We can include that in our web pages. What next? Are you all clear with this? Yes. For the video, we have to use some YouTube links. How to embed YouTube videos in your he's asking a question, how to embed YouTube videos in your web page. So for this, we'll be using an iframe. What I have used is an iframe. The source for this iframe comes from your YouTube video. So let me go to, like, I open YouTube here, maybe at Satish. So let me go to my own YouTube video. I'll take up one of the videos, tell you how to embed this video in your web page. So I'll take up this particular video which I have posted, and if I want to embed this, you go and click on share, and you go to embed this particular icon, and then you select the source. Just copy the source, and what you do is you come back to the source in the iframe, copy that, and you can also define some height and width. Height to be 300 and width to be 300. So let's stop this. We'll just save this, and let's take a look at the web page. That is my web page. Let me go back. Let me refresh this. So it's going to take up some time because it has to now link up to the video. See, now an iframe has been used to embed a YouTube video in my web page. So this is the thing that I've done with all my web pages there. I've embedded all my videos like this. So you can very well, not only YouTube, from any place, where any sharing platform where you put up your videos, you can very well embed it. So that's about audio video tags in HTML. See, again, we're not covering every attribute for an audio and video. You want to see, if you start reading that, you will be not ending up with HTML too. Anyway, from a syllabus perspective, this is fine. I think that will be done. Next, let's move on to another very important concept, forms in HTML. So what is the need for a form? We do a lot of things. We enter our username and password through a form. We do registrations through forms. So even in my own website, I am in need of some forms like login form, sign up form, a feedback form, contact us form. So I am moving into forms. Then that's the next stage for my website, which I have implemented. So in that scenario, I'll be using the form tag. Whenever you are creating a form, please put that inside the form tag, open, close. Inside this, you'll have a lot of input types. First thing, we'll start off with a label. So what is the use of a label? This is to instruct the user. Give some label for your input type. Say username is the name, and then I'll say enter your username. So after this, we can ask the user to enter his username. So he'll be using a text field. For this, the input type is text. And we can make this required. Required in the sense it's mandatory for the user to enter. If he's skipping this, he'll get an error. And we can also give max length, say how many characters he can enter, 10 characters. And whenever you're working with forms, make it mandatory to have a name field for every element in your form. So name, here I'll give the name as username. Okay, that's it. So now our first input element is done. Let's take a look at the browser. So enter your username, some values it enters, but max length is only 10. There's also min length which you can give. So this is for entering the text input. Username you will be entering. Likewise, if there is a password that the user enters, we can give a label. This we call that to be password, and the input type is password. And what we'll do here is we'll get the input type. So label is password, input type is password. It's not text. And this is also required. We have to give a name field. We'll say the name to be password. Why we are giving a name field here? See, when you're submitting this data, the data goes to the server. So on the server side, we'll be accessing the values using the name field. So name field is very important because we are collecting data from the user. This data will be finally moving on to a server. You'll be writing code in PHP to process that and move it to a database or do some response back to the user. So always see to that you give a name field. It's required. If you want, you can give max length, min length for password too. So what is the use of this password tag is, we can see the output. It's like it will mask the characters. Whatever password I'm entering, it will mask the characters. That is the of input type password. Next input type is, we'll take a look at input type to be of type radio. What is radio? Users may be asked to enter the gender. They have to go with some radio buttons. So we'll go with the label. Label, this is for gender, and we'll say select your gender. And we'll have some input type. Input type is radio here. After select your gender, I'll give a line break. So input type is radio, and we have to give a name field. I'll give the name field to be gender and value. What value will go to the server when the user selects this? Say male. So this value you have to give so that when the user selects this is the value that will go to the server. And what value the user will see on the screen, for that we should have another label, that is label for I call this male. So male will be displayed to the user. After this, let's take another input type. This is for female. And see, when you're working with a set of radio buttons, you should have the same name for all the radio options. Very important. So what is the name I have to give here? Gender. Because this set of radio buttons fall under a group. So you should not change the name. A different name should not be given for each radio input the user is making. And what is the value that will be going to the server here? That is female. And for this, you should create another label, and you can display this to the user. So now we'll have a break tag here. Input type is equal to radio. I'm sorry. So input type is equal to radio, name is equal to gender, and value is equal to female. So made a mistake there. Thanks for letting me know. So now you see only one of the values can be selected. So this one is also done. We'll take a look at the next option, that is checkbox. Next thing what we are going to see is checkbox. What is the use of checkbox is the user can select multiple options. That is radio, we can select only one of the options. So for this we'll have a label. We'll say we are selecting our subjects. So let's give the name as subjects and say select your subjects. So user will select many subjects here. So I'll have a break. And then next, what we are going to give here is input type to be checkbox. Name here we should give, say this is subject 1. And ID, you can give any ID. I'll give subject 1. Value. What is the value that will be going to the server? I will say the first value is chemistry. That is the subject. And we'll display the subject to the user. We say that using a label, it's chemistry. And then we'll say this is chemistry. Let's something display like this. So we'll have a BR tag here. So how it looks, select your subject. See, if I don't give this BR, you're going to have it here. So after this, I'll give a BR and then let's have a break and see. Now you can select your subject. So there is a label for this. There's a label for chemistry, and input type is equal to checkbox, name is equal to subject one, and value is equal to chemistry. So those things, please have this in mind. Let's have one more input type here. So for this, we'll say input type will have to be checkbox, and we can have name. See, when you're working with checkboxes, the name field should contain different names for each and every option. So here, this is subject one, this is subject two. Whereas in radio options, the name should contain the same value for all the boxes. So now, what value will be going to the server? Let's say this is physics subject that will be going on, and we'll have this label which will display to the user physics and physics. Okay, so we'll have a break tag here. Let's take a look at this output. So users can select multiple options. So are you clear with how to use a checkbox? Checkbox, you're going to get in multiple inputs from the user. The next thing we are going to take a look at is how to get date input from the user. Date or the which say wherein you enter dates, course registration date. Maybe you are asked to enter the course registration date or your birth date. Very important, right? Whenever you select birth date, how you get dates? Never get dates using a text field as a string. Never do that. What is that you have to do is you have to first give a label to the user. Say you are getting the birth date or something like that. So enter your birth date. And what is the input type you're going to have here is date. So you can very well see that you're going to get a calendar displayed. So from where you can select your date. Suppose you don't want the user to select a date greater than today's date. You should not be selecting the 20th December. Maximum date you should select is only 19th December. How you can restrict the user is you can give max. It's not max length. You have to give max and equal to. You have to give 2022 the month and then the day. So maximum, what is the date that the user can select is today's date. Anything previous can be selected, but not greater than this. Let's check our calendar. You see, you can select 19th, but the dates from 20th is disabled for him. This is a kind of very useful thing, right? Sometimes you go to voter registration systems or driving license systems. People who are less than 18 years should not even enter their info. Maybe we can restrict them from entering this data and block them from even registering. So this is the use of the max attribute. There is one more thing called min. What is this min? When I say min, minimum is today's date. Any date after this date can be booked, but the previous dates cannot be booked. So you're blocking the user. So you will see that here. So minimum is it starts from today. The previous dates they cannot select. You're blocking them. Where it is useful, see, I've seen many projects wherein students come with hotel management systems, room booking. I can book rooms for the rooms, 3 years back. I can go back in the calendar, book a room, pay the fees too. So that kind of options are available. For even birth date, I'll be able to select a date in the future and submit it to the server. So whereas these kinds of restrictions are not available in the students' projects. So you can make some things. You can also put max and min together. Say minimum is this, maximum can be say 2022 12/31. You can very well make okay from today till the month end. That's the date range I want the users to book. So if you go and see here, you will see only this date range is allowed. All the other dates are blocked. They will not be even able to register. Good things in HTML5. Okay, dates. We have seen how to use calendar object. Next thing we'll see range. We'll see this range attribute. What is the use of range? I'll give a label. I'll call this recommendation. Select your recommendation. Normally, I have used this range element many times when I'm giving letter of recommendations to students who are going for higher education. That's why I used recommendation here. So here the input type is going to be range, and min I can say 0. The range will vary from min to max 5, something like this. And I'll have a BR tag here so that range is in a new. So this is the range selector. Normally, when universities ask for students, for me to evaluate students, they give a communication skills range between 0 to 5. You have to rate them. Try to just select and submit. Like that, we have many parameters: research output, project output, like that. So this is one common thing I see when I select recommendations for students. That is, input type is equal to range. So min and max values we can give, and we also have another attribute, that is email. So we'll have a label. So we have something for email inputs too. So enter your email, and we are here. So we'll see input type is email. You can make this required if you want. So what is the use of this email input? Yes, you'll be able to see. Say if I enter Satish at gmail.com, I'll be able to submit. If I don't give at the rate here, if I submit Satish gmail.com, it will block me. HTML will validate it. It will say check your email ID. So that validation is achieved with respect to input type is equal to email. Some small validations. And you also have one more thing. Next thing is it's the drop down or the combo box. In Java, we call this combo box. Here they say it's a select. So we'll say this is the drop down menu. So we'll give a label. Say mostly when you're selecting your country, you'll see a drop down list of countries, right? I'll give label to be country. Select your country. And this email will have a break here. So how to select the country? For this, we should go with the select element. Name will give this to be country. Some ID will give country 1 or something like that. And all the options should go within your select. What is that we are going to give here is, we'll give option. Value is the value that will go to the server when the user selects this country. Say first we'll have India, and we'll say this will be displayed to the user. India will be displayed to the user. Likewise, we'll have some more options: US, and one more option we'll have. Maybe this is UK, and we'll go with UK. So our options are done. Now you'll be able to. Now you will see the output. So select your country. See, since I'm not using a break after this, that is after email, I didn't include a break. It's giving me an error. I should have included there. It's not an error. The display is not good. So now when you take a look at output, you'll be able to see select your country. So you can select any one of the values. So if you select some values, if you select US, and then when I submit, which value will be going to the server? This value will be going to the server. So you should not forget to give value. Without this field, whatever the user selects, nothing goes to the server. Please have this in mind. So drop down we have seen. There's another element, that is number. We can make the user enter only numbers as input. Say when I'm entering your marks, I can enter only numbers. And if I select that the quiz should be for 10 marks, I can enter only between 1 to 10. So for this, we'll say label marks, enter your marks. And we'll have a break here, that break tag. And we'll say input type here is number. And we can give what is the minimum number the user can enter, 0. What is the maximum number he can enter? Say if I say 5 marks for an assignment I give. We'll have a break here. So this one is also useful. You can see enter your marks. I can just go anywhere between 1 to 5, but not out of the range. Sometimes when you get marks, there's a chance that the user enters minus yes, and you have to go on validating it, right? So now the validation happens from the HTML end. Even before it goes to the server, a request is made to the server, we filter it here, right? So only numbers will go to the server within the range. We still have some more fields I'll just show you this. Input type is equal to search. We have So this enables you to enter some search text and you can search. So I didn't give a label for this. So you can also have a label for searching, say label search, enter items for search, enter to search, something like that. Enter text to search, we'll say. Something like this. So search, we have, it's not only that. When you take a look at the input types available in HTML5, we can input date and time, we can input week, we can input month. There are a lot of input types available in HTML5. We'll not go through all of them. I think I have covered most of the important things we use for creating a form, generic form. Now, after creating all these things, what you see here is this, but this should be submitted to the server. What is important? You need a button to submit. Click on submit. So for that, you should go with input type to be submit. So input type is submit. We'll have a break here. And you should give value to be submit. So whatever you are entering in the value will also be visible on the button. And whatever you're submitting, whenever you submit, this value will be going to the server. You can check whether the user has really submitted a form by checking whether the value submit has come to the server. So that's why we give a value attribute here. You also have another button, reset button. Let's check reset. What is the use of this reset is, say you keep on entering some data, you want to reset, see all the info is reset. You don't have any name or value, anything like that. It's just a reset button. So with that, I think we have covered most of the attributes, important attributes in HTML and the input types in HTML. So from now, where we are going to go from here? That is the next question. So we know how to create forms. This form looks very ugly. So we should style this form. We should make it look more professional, like what you see in VTalk. So styling comes next. We have to style. Next thing, what we have to do is we have to validate the user's data using JavaScript. Sometimes the user enters a password which is not having special characters, which is not having an uppercase, lowercase, something he enters. So instead of making an HTTP request to the server, validating with PHP and coming back, we can run a JavaScript validations on the client to check whether the password norms are being satisfied. So such kind of validations we have to do. For that, we'll use JavaScript validation. We'll use JavaScript for validating this form. That is our next step. So on submit, validations will happen. The next step after validation is, once when the validations are satisfactory, we can use the post method of HTTP to post the data to your server, get the data using the post method. With that, let me wind up. Next class, we'll start off with some CSS styling. We'll go forward. Thank you.